Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't done so, why don't you hit the subscribe button for us? It really does help us out. Are you a fan of the old handhelds, but aren't a fan of the old screens? Would you like a Game Boy with a screen that looks like this? I know I do. In today's episode, we're going to look at the installation of a Q5 IPS screen from Handheld Legend, and also converting an old system with the RetroSix Prestige shell. So there's a few things to watch for, although it is a fairly easy install. But if you stick around, we'll show you how to get it done. Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today on the bench, we have a bit of fun. I always like doing these special builds or custom builds, or or just even upgrading our old favorite games to modern LCDs or IPS displays. So on the bench today, we have an original Game Boy that is in need of help, as you can see. I did put some batteries in it, and I put the test cartridge in from Handheld Legend, which I've been using quite a bit in the shop. And on that note, there's, I'll put a link. I don't remember which corner it winds up in, but I'll put a link up in the corner to the review on this little cartridge. And also, on that video, if you make comments and check it out, we're actually doing a giveaway with a gift card to Handheld Legend. So make sure you look at it and subscribe. So anyway, we can see that our screen is busted. We've got some lines in this screen. You know, it's playable, but it definitely needs some love. We're gonna take that cartridge out, and we're gonna set it aside. We're gonna take our batteries out, and you can see the acid that had gotten into the back. Let's just get some batteries out of this thing for now. So what we've got here is the newest IPS screen for regular Game Boy. This is the version 5 or Q5 from Handheld Legend. And we also have a nice modern shell, and you can see here, Handheld Legend and RetroSix. I have got several of my personal handheld units in these shells. They are every bit, or if not slightly better than the original OE shells. And it has this nice textured, almost grippy, rubbery paint on them that I really like. I know some people have complained about it and said it's worn off and had some problems, but I've never had an issue with them. Generally speaking, I think the people that have had issues have tried to clean it with something kind of harsh. But anything like Windex or alcohol, if you've got a smudge on it, just seems to take care of it real quick. And of course, they're printed nice. These aren't your typical import plastic shells. So we've got one in blue. We've got a new glass screen. And we've got, let's see, some black buttons and membranes that will look real nice on this blue shell. So let's go ahead and put this aside for just a second. And let's get our, well, we'll look at this too. So the new revision of this IPS screen comes with an entire board. So we'll have new contacts for our buttons, and of course we'll have new membranes up there. And it comes, with essentially the contrast wheel, but since this is a black and white Game Boy, and it clicks, this goes through the brightness, and this goes through the color palettes. So you can change the color palettes. So you don't have to play it green and black or green and gray. You can actually play it in black and white, which is my favorite. But on this one has the on-screen display. It should. And if you hold it in, it will bring up the display, and you can move it around a bit, change the pixel mode and whatnot. So that's always a bonus. It comes with a spacer that comes back here behind the screen to hold everything in place. The last one I did was a 3D printed one, and this one's a proper molded one this time. So this was an update even on that kit. Let's set that aside. And here's our board and our screen. We're just going to leave that in the plastic for a moment. But as you can see here, test before installation. So we will do that, but we got to get this Game Boy apart first. So let's just go ahead and do that. The Game Boy uses tri-wing screws, as a lot of the... Unless somebody's come in here and changed it. Nope. This got Phillips. Sorry. So we'll use a Phillips screwdriver and get these out. Can we use a number 1? No, there's not enough room for it. Okay, we'll have to just stick with this guy. Now the new shell is going to use its own screws. They are slightly shorter than the OE chassis screws. Okay, I got them all out. You can just set these aside. These are definitely not OE screws. Of course, things are falling out of it. Okay, so when you get your Game Boy screws out, you can open it up and you can see the ribbon cable in there. And this is just a pull type ribbon cable. Just like that. Now, for the most part, since we've got new buttons and a new board, new everything, we almost don't need anything out of here. But we do need this speaker. So we still have to take all these screws out to get to our speaker. We'll go ahead and do that first. These are all Phillips screws. And there's a bunch of them. Nothing. It was just stuck. Okay. So now with our board lifted up, we'll grab our soldering iron and what tip we got on there? We got a chisel tip. That's good. We can just come underneath here and desolder those wires. And that's all we're concerned about right now. So we can set that whole bit aside since it's got broken glass. All right, so we know our main board works. And we need that battery compartment. So they are very adamant about testing these kits. I've ordered several of these and I have yet to get one that showed up damage, but they don't want these glued in place and then having try to peel them out if there's a problem. Okay, so let's see. We can go ahead and see which way this is going to sit. Okay, it's going to sit in like that. Okay. And this screen is going to be this way. We got this backwards. Okay. That's going to sit in that way. This is going to sit in this way. So that cutout is for that ribbon there, which is also a little different than my last kit. And it should sit in there just like this, if I can get a hold of the edge. There we go. Okay. And let's set a couple things aside. Let's get some bubble wrap. And I'm going to get just a touch of this double-sided tape that comes with the kit, just to hold this little circuit board from flopping. I don't want to damage that ribbon. Okay, that should keep us in place. Here's our board, and here's our new ribbon. Okay, so these ribbons are going to have contact sides up. So I'm not sure which side's going to be harder to get in, but let's go ahead and put it in our Game Boy first. And these heavy ribbons are some of the few that you can actually bend a little bit to get some pressure on them. You can basically do it right behind that blue tape, and it gives you the leverage to push it in. And this is not going to be a good shot. I'm sorry for that, but we're going to have to live with it a little bit, I think. There we go. If it goes in a lot crooked, don't force it in. You'll wind up breaking it. Pull it back out, get it lined up again, and work it in. There we go. Okay. As you can see, it can be a little fiddly. The nice thing is this is a very tough ribbon. So from here, we'll go ahead and open our bail. This ribbon's much more fragile, but it shouldn't really take any pressure to go in. We can close our bail. Make sure we're straight. And put in a few batteries, and we'll see what we get on the screen. Just be careful not to let anything short. And it looks like our screen's good. So we're all tested. There's no dead pixels or issues. So I'm going to go ahead and release it from this bail under here. And I'm going to set that aside where it can be safe. And from this point, we can actually, well, we'll get our batteries back out. And we only have these two Phillips here. And then the 2 on the headphone jack. And our power supply, headphone jack, and mainboard should all come out. We can just set that aside. Okay. Now, this one's not too bad inside, but you know, if you see some dust or something you don't like, you can always just get a Q-tip and a little alcohol and clean up our contacts and, you know, whatever else you might see in that it's a little funky. Usually the switches get a little dirty. If you get a little alcohol down inside of them, run them back and forth, it helps clean the contacts. All right, so that's that. So now, let's look at our new shell. As you can tell, this is a pretty quick build. Handheld Legends has really done a nice job with the fit and finish of all these parts. And you know what, we're just gonna go ahead and take it back out of our main board, just so we can get a better visual on this. Now the cartridge slot sits under the tin, and this should all line up just fine. Make sure your power supply board goes down inside the little recess. Did I miss something? Come on. Oh, the wires are just tucked in the wrong spot. There we go. Power supply board's down, main board in, headphone jack in place. Here's all our new hardware. New membranes, new buttons, and like I said, this is all from Handheld Legends, and you know, there, as you can see, the quality is just so nice on these. Let's see, is this a better screwdriver for these? Yeah, they fit a little better. All right. Before you get those screws in, and I always forget, make sure your switch is down inside. There we go. All right, that's better. And then we can get these last 2 screws in. Okay, so there's that side of the shell. Now the one thing we need to do is get this speaker soldered up. So let's see, this is going to sit in here like this. This speaker is going to be in like this. So we're going to solder them in through the top. Let that come up to temp. Make sure they're not hanging out. And if you want, you know, you can clean your flux up while it's still warm. Although with just a couple speaker leads, it's really not necessary. Okay. So that board is kind of prepped. Where is our screen? Here we go. So at this point, we can remove the protector. We can set this in our frame. Okay. I was trying to show it, but I just think since Handheld Legend gives this nice bracket now, you don't really need any double-sided tape on the actual screen, which is nice in case you ever need to replace it. You're not trying to peel it out. The thing is, with the IPS screens, even though you can see a little bit of foil film on there, that's all it is. It's a very thin plastic frame, a little bit of foil for a reflector, and a very thin layer of LEDs back in the back. So they're fragile. I'm sure you've seen some of my other videos, like the Neo Geo. I can link that up there, where you literally take the shell and you twist it like an ice cube tray and you pop out the old LCD, because the old LCD was thicker glass, thicker reflector, and it had an aluminum or tin pressed chassis around it. And you can really kind of be rough with them. Also, something like the PSP. So anyway, as you can see, no mods needed. And I believe that even with the OE shell, we don't have to mod with this particular kit. And that absolutely just fits fantastic. So, the speaker does have one little notch in it. You gotta make sure that's lined up like that. And then the board will drop down. Getting ahead of myself. It'll play a whole lot better with buttons in it. So let's go ahead and drop our buttons in. These aren't marked A or B, so they're just universal there. And even if you're wanting to update or clean up your original shell, that shell was pretty rough. You know, from Handheld Legend, these buttons and membranes fit the OE shell. So now we can go ahead and put in this circuit board. Once you get the screws started here, you want to lift it up off the table, because the buttons are pushing, you know, the membrane and pushing up on the circuit board. Okay. Once you get one in, you're safe to do the rest. Now these are new plastic screws and new plastic, so they're going to be pretty snug getting them put into place. But, you know, don't be too rough with them. And of course, speaker popped out. Okay, so we're taking some screws back out. Don't try to, that's actually a good point there. Do not try to just loosen the screws and tweak up the board to get, you know, that speaker back into place. While you can kind of sneak it past the OE board, this one, there's a little bit more meat around the bottom. And you don't want to break any of the traces or components that are under there. So, you know, just go ahead and run the screws the whole way back up. It only takes a few extra seconds to do it right and to not cause damage. And one more. Okay. Now we can make sure our buttons are all functioning. And you know what, since we're here, let's go ahead and get our new screen on it. And don't make the mistake I've made in the past. Make sure you get that center part up and the adhesive with it. Otherwise, you know, the back side of your screen is going to be and that's the part I'm talking about. So now we can actually see through it. Just line up the top corners and it should go in just like that. Not a problem. Wow, that's really starting to look nice already. All right, so our board's in, our screen is in, all the screws are removed. So let's go ahead and get this ribbon in here again. Make sure the bail's up, flop it over. Do not crimp this. You can damage this one. But hold it in flat, make sure that bails down. It's a little fiddly, but not too bad. All right, so there's that. Let's get the back side of our shell. We can get our ribbon back in here. Okay. And everything should line up. Get a few screws in, we'll see what she looks like. Don't forget the two under the battery door. Oops. The magnet's getting weak. I keep small magnets up on the microscope stand. And all you got to do is drag the tip of a screwdriver across it a couple times and it becomes magnetized again. You don't always want to use a magnetized screwdriver, but for these small screws, it's the best way to handle them. Okay. Volume button's good. Our selector's good. Let's see what this guy looks like. And why don't we go with Pikachu? As you can see, it's already in the black and white mode. And it looks so much better. And what I was saying before, you have your wheel here to set your brightness. If you push it, it goes through different color modes. And of course, it picks up similar color palettes. It doesn't truly colorize the game. It's kind of the same color palettes as if you put a black and white game into a Game Boy Color. So this cannot just magically run, you know, Game Boy Color games. Although that one will run on black and white. And if we hold this wheel, it should give us the menu. There it is. So we can adjust the brightness, the vertical position, the horizontal position, the pixel effect. You can see it gives the fake pixels. I personally don't like that one. And it can give us the battery display up in the top screen. You can see way up in the edge there. And holding it should bring us back out. So there you have it. This is the Q5 IPS from Handheld Legends with the Prestige Game Boy shell. And, you know, that didn't take too much time at all, maybe 20 minutes total. And it really does make, yeah, these new screens are so much better. It really does make these a lot more enjoyable to play. And being a handheld fan, I really enjoy these. So if you have any questions or comments, why don't you go ahead and make them down below. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. And also, check out my video on checking the test cart. There is a giveaway currently on it. All you have to do is make a comment, make sure you subscribe. Anyway, thanks for being with us today. I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.